I'm going to compare the Project X Red. Now this is a new addition to the Project X lineup, and I don't think you'll see it in any new clubs just yet. They'll start sort of feeding in maybe over time. If a brand chooses to have it as one of their stock shafts, potentially next year it could be an option, I don't know yet. In fitting studios, these are probably more available than in fitting kits. I've got this Project X Red in a 6.0 and it's 110 grams in stiff. And then I'm going to compare it to the Project X Blue, which is the standard one that we've seen for many years now. And this one is 120 grams, so it's slightly heavier than the new Red. And just for reference, I've got the Srixon Z-Star Diamond and I've got the Callaway AI200. Now the reason that I'm using this club is because I've already got a demo shaft in the Project X normal one. So I built this aftermarket shaft in one of these adapters so I can get them head to head. So let's have a few shots with the Red. Wow, nice. Comes off the face nice and easily. It does feel quite easy through the ball. Feels quite easy to get a lot of height on it. So if you naturally launch the ball quite low, this could well be a good option to get that ball up a little bit. Yeah, nice. Now normally with a softer shaft that's got a bit more bend in it, we get the shaft to bend and release into the ball and we get more height from that, but sometimes we get a bit more of a left bias from a shaft that bends a bit more. I'm not really feeling like this is trying to go left on me. It is kind of like holding just to the right hand side fairly nicely. In terms of the different settings that you can get on this head, I've got 1 extra loft and I've got minus on the lie angle, so I've got 1 degree more loft and 1 degree flatter in the lie angle, so that will get it to go up and right. I'm going to choose the same settings when I change the shafts. Ah, there it goes, commentator's curse. We've got one draw in a little bit more there. It's got some beans on it, it's got some carry on there. Testament to these faces being pretty good for ball speed. Speed drops a bit, that could be an anomaly. Oh, I drop kicked that one. So there's potentially 2 shots to take out of the data pool. It's on the edge of the green, it's not bad. Let's try and put a couple of good swings on it. That one, yep. Drop and stop, nice. And this is just trying to draw, it's okay. It's kind of held its line pretty well on the green. Doesn't feel too bad at all. So let's continue with that +1 loft and -1 on the lie angle. Plus there, minus there, so we've got the same. And there we go, Project X. So I've got the same head settings, I've got the same golf ball. It does already feel a little bit more rigid. Oh, it does feel a little bit, I can feel the extra weight. Definitely feels that a little bit harder to get through the ball. Squeezed out to the right a bit more. Now sometimes, when you've got a lighter shaft, you can swing the club back and the lighter shaft gets in easier, so it gets a little bit lefter easier. With a heavier shaft, it's a little bit harder to get into the ball, so the face might stay open that little bit more by comparison. Obviously I've only hit 1 shot doing that. Very nice. There's still a bit of height on there, and I did compare this to something else a little while ago, and I found the Project X to have like a little bit more height than normal anyway. I can't remember what I compared that against. I think it might have been a Modus. That's a bad strike. Not that one. Not as robotic as I would like. I've missed the green. Get the club head through the ball. Like that. So I feel like in the Red that would have turned left easier. We've done all right there. Not bad, not bad. Let's go 1 more, just drift into that right hand side. Ah, I missed it. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so definitely a little bit easier to drift right. Red, a little bit easier to draw, marginally. So if I first have a look at my delivery, I've got 94.9 club head speed and 94.7 club head speed. So I've delivered very close speed between the two. I've hit 5.3 down and 5.5 down, so I've hit down on the ball about the same amount. The in to out is 4 degrees on the Red and 2.6 on the Blue, so potentially it's a little bit easier to release that club head and get into out to encourage that draw spin, which is 554 with the Red and 43 with the Blue, so I don't have as much draw spin on the Blue. The peak height is 110 with the Red and 115 with the Blue, so the Blue I am getting more height. I'm getting up to 120 feet there with a few that are a bit lower to bring the average down, and I'm only getting 112 out of the Red, so it doesn't go as high, which I thought it would. And then angle of descent, I've got 47.9 in the Red and 48.8 in the Blue, so the Blue is going higher and it's landing steeper. So I get a bit more control in that blue, but it is harder to draw. So I've got a dispersion ring in the blue, nice and small. In the red, it's a bit of a bigger spread. With a softer shaft at my speed, I would expect more spread. With a stiffer shaft, I would expect it to be a little bit tighter. So that is kind of normal. With a slower swing speed than mine, we'd probably find the red is a little bit easier to manage. Ball speed, basically the same, 0.2 mile an hour in it. The blue is launching higher. The red launched lower and it had a lower peak height as well. And then I'm getting very similar spins, slightly more in the red, if anything. Carry about the same. So I've got that 4-yard variance front to back against 2-yard variance front to back. But because that blue is just that little bit stiffer, I think I've managed it with my pace a little bit easier than the red. The red's just got a little bit more variation in there. So I'd love to try this with a slower swing speed because I think it would be a little bit easier in the red by comparison. But I have tried to do comparisons with a different golfer before, but then it's ended up being a lesson because they're not consistent enough to kind of get some useful data. So one day I will find just the right person to drop in there and start doing reviews at different speeds. But for the minute, that's what I found with these two shafts. I quite like the red, but it's just not quite for me.